Hello, everybody. It is Kwame Gonza once again here, sitting in at Connect Africa. We are bringing you updates on what is happening with the protests in Nigeria. We've been covering this extensively. Um, you know what is happening in Nigeria that about 2 days ago, protests started. These protests have been announced for some time, and they have been happening for the last 2 years. They started on a very serious note on the first day. Yesterday they happened also, and today they are still going on. And it was said that these protests will take about 10 days for the Nigerian people to push their message towards the government because of their bad policies, because of the government's bad policies towards the people. These policies, which the people have called unfriendly, they feel that they are pushing them, these policies are pushing the people much more into poverty. Now, what are these policies? We have covered this, of course, as I said, extensively, and we have looked at the austerity measures of the Tinubu administration immediately when he came to power. After his during his swearing in, actually, that he mentioned the removal of fuel subsidies. And of course, there has been a lot of controversy around fuel subsidies. Other people have been saying that they benefit the rich, but then why are the poor crying if they benefit the rich? So there's two sides of the story which people have not spoken about, but we will not go into that, the analysis of that. That is a topic for another day. But we believe that all countries have subsidies. Even when you go to the United States, the railway industry, for example, especially the metro system, which is used for intercity railway, normally is subsidized by the government. So if you are saying that there's problems with the subsidies and it's the rich who are benefiting from them, then it is not really the subsidies which have a problem. The problem is not with the subsidies, but rather is the implementation. Then you adjust the implementation because you have been collecting all this data through the national identification system, which is digital. You know where the people are, you know where the poor people are, and you know where the rich people are. So get the smartest people in your society and then change how you are implementing these subsidies, because these subsidies, whether you like it or not, all countries are implementing subsidies, especially the advanced countries, which even have much more money and their people already are living better off than our societies. We can pick out, for example, the United States. Even during the COVID period, that a lot of checks were given by the government, free checks. But it is unfortunate that in our countries in Africa, the African countries never gave out any checks. They never gave out any checks. So these are some of the problems that the fuel issues in Nigeria are bringing about problems, and the fact that the Nigerian people feel that the decision of the removal of subsidies had brought about the increase in food prices, transport prices, and all these problems which you can talk of, and therefore they are saying that the cost of living is escalating and we cannot continue to go on like this. So these are the basically some of the things that have brought them out on the street, because the salaries are not increasing, yet the politicians are increasing their salaries. The politician, and the middle class, of course, is well off. If you look at people who have been saying that the protests should not happen, people should calm down, should wait for Tinubu, to implement the so-called people-friendly policies. We don't see the people-friendly policies, and that is what the Nigerian people also are not seeing. And of course, this is general even across the African continent. If you see what is happening, in Kenya, it is the same thing. The austerity policies, the devaluation of the naira itself has brought problems. It has brought the inflation within the country. Even people like Dangote have spoken about this and have said that it is unacceptable for Nigeria to have this kind of inflation. And then, of course, the interest rates in the banks have also been put up. These interest rates are unsustainable. That's what Dangote said, because people need to borrow money to build businesses. If people are not building enterprises, and you are saying that the country is a so-called free enterprise country, a free market country, and yet you have escalated the interest rates due to your own devaluation of the currency as a government, then how do you expect people to live? Because the cost of living is going to go high. And therefore, one of the demands that the people have made, of course, is that the salaries should be increased. Their salaries should be increased. And people have been demanding that the government should run a socialist state, which means that the resources should come back to the people. Resources which are very important, like the leading resource, which contributes the biggest chunk of the foreign exchange to the Nigerian state, which is oil. Resources need to come back to the hands of the people. So President Tinubu announced a minimum wage recently, which is around 70,000 naira, which is approximately $42, which, in all sense is unsustainable. This is really, really unsustainable that people can live on $42 every month. Every month. This is the minimum wage, in Nigeria, 70,000 naira, which is $42. So it is really unacceptable and is not, this is really unacceptable that the people cannot afford to live, such a life. Who of the presidents or the ministers and the governors can live on $42, a month? So you can see that people have a reason to come out to protest. So we want to look at what is happening today, compared to what happened yesterday. But the protests in themselves are ongoing. The protests in themselves are still, going on. So this is, what is happening as the day broke off today. What happened is that, let me see here. All right. So as the day broke off, what happened is that the protests, especially in Abuja and Lagos, they resumed as happened yesterday. Only that the intensity has died down, the pressure has reduced it down, and there's reasons. There's reasons for that pressure, to die down. That the populations have reduced, of course. In several states, across the country, as time has gone on, the intensity has has died down, it has reduced, and they have become less aggressive, or they have become less violent, if you may say. They have become more peaceful, to be precise. And therefore, the police is on the streets. The police for itself is on the streets, is out there on the streets, monitoring. But all in this dying out of these protests, it has been because of certain reasons. It has been because of certain reasons. As you can see, the pictures here, we can see the police, we can see the people out there on the streets with some banners, and some of the places, in Abuja, where they came, earlier on, and there were a lot of people. There were only a few people who came later, and they were actually dispersed, because we see in the same area that the police used a lot of tear gas to disperse them from the place. They brought a lot of police. So the tactic of the government, of course, in the past, this is Lagos. In Lagos, the police actually, in some cases, joined the people, and the commissioners of the police came out to speak to the people. So this was the situation today. But to say it how it is that today the protests were not intense. Today they were not as intense as yesterday or the past 2 days, even though people still managed to come out. So what we are noticing, on the other hand, is that the government has used the certain tactics. The government has used the certain tactics in approach to these. If you look at it carefully, it employed some hooligans so that they can say that the people are becoming violent. If you remember, in the United States also, during the Black Lives Matter, because remember, this is a neo-colonial government that is trying to protect itself. Okay, so all these middle class, they are trying to protect themselves because they are feeding. And if you look at the messages that were coming out even before the protests, started, as people were announcing them, there is a group of people who were discouraging at the protests, and that group, you can group it, put it in the middle class. All right, the ruling class, the middle class, and those who have businesses, especially the importation businesses, which are not adding anything to the to the development of the country. Those ones who are in the group of the importation and they are benefiting in the system, they find that these protests are are a disturbance to them. Therefore, they discourage them. They discourage these protests. For them, they feel that it is an inconvenience. Now, put that to put on top of that also the religious leaders. A lot of religious leaders also have been coming out to discourage the protests. Okay, that is another thing. Now, religious leaders, including the Muslim religious leaders, because Tinubu, of course, is a Muslim. So the religious leaders, both the Christian and the Muslims. And why the religious leaders? Because the religious leaders, of course, they are depending on the people. As you know, the tithe and all these, they are feeding well. So they don't care about the condition of the people. So this is what we are seeing. And even when you go and examine Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's book, actually, to be a little bit more elaborate and to put this in context, Nkrumah saw in one of his books, which he wrote, which is called Class Struggle in Africa. That book is very important. If you want, you can go out there and read it. It's a very important book that can help you to understand the situation on the African continent right now. The situation is like this. The imperialist forces have taken over our continent. But in the imperialist forces taking over our continent, they work on the continent with overseers. Now, our countries are like plantations. Africa is like a plantation. The imperialist forces have control over our continent. All right. Now, in having this control over our continent, unlike in slavery, where they came directly, and colonialism, and they stationed here their troops, today they just take over the government and they impose their own group of people who look like us. And that's why this situation is very difficult. Now, the ruling class works with the imperialists to take over our system. So this is Nkrumah's analysis of the situation that is going on. Now, when you look for people who have been discouraging the protests in Nigeria and all the other countries, all the other African countries, the people who discourage the protests, you see that it is the politicians who are benefiting already. And they will say, oh, the government is coming to solve the problem. You don't need to be violent. They don't like violence. All right. Because they know that they are the targets. All right. They know that they are the targets because they are the ones who are selling out to the people, to the imperialists. And the imperialists, of course, are taking our resources, because the purpose of the imperialists being here is for them to continue the process of extraction of Africa's resources. And who is helping them? Like in case of Nigeria, the reason why Dangote cannot get fuel to service the indigenous market, to service the indigenous people, the owners of the country, is because the imperialist forces, through their surrogates, who are the ruling class, are taking away the resources. The government has allowed them. That's why we have not had Tinubu come out to say anything. Now, in taking over and working with these surrogates who are African and blacks in color, these blacks also, they use the funds they get from the imperialists to take over the military. Now, the military and the security systems on the African continent doesn't serve the interests of the people. So this is why our situation is really complicated. So the government, we see it that it has been employing a couple of tactics, sending hooligans into the people to justify the intervention of the police, so that then they can employ the tactic of intimidation, beating people so that other people will not come out on the streets. Because at first they were employing the tactic of divide and conquer, whereby a group of they were saying that a group of young people have come out to say that the protests, they will not join the protests. The protests are illegal. So that was the first a stage whereby they were testing the resolve of the people. And of course, if you talk about positive action, which Nkrumah, of course, elaborated a little bit, it is a stage, such a stage whereby they try to infiltrate or try to discourage the protesters from coming out to the streets, is testing the resolve of the people, whether the people are really resolved, they feel the pain, all right, whether they are willing to go through, with the protests, they are willing to take the pain and go through with the protest. So this is a test. I think it's normally called the test of wills, right? This is a test of wills. Now, what happened here is that the government came out to try to discourage through dividing the people who want to protest and saying that another group is saying we should not come out on the street to protest. Now, the other thing is to send hooligans within the group, send hooligans within the protesters, and say that the people are protesting, but they are violent, all right? And these tactics, of course, we saw them, even the United States using them, using the Black Lives Matter, like I said, that the United States and the CIA and the FBI, they were sending hooligans within the Black Lives Matter protesters, all right? And those hooligans would break things, okay? And then they would say that it is the Black Lives Matter. So it was a justification for the United States to militarize the police and intervene to stop the Black Lives Matter movement. So this is a tactic which normally the governments use. And the Nigerian government also was using that tactic. And then, of course, there was the tactic of buying out other people so that they will not, come out on the street. As one of the video, which I'm going to play here, has shown us, the people themselves came out to say that they have been buying us. They came and gave us money, about 5,000 naira, which is approximately $3. 5,000 naira. So they gave out people, those ones of Okada and all these, so that they will not come out. So as usual, the politicians are fearful of what could come from these protests. But more so, they fear the Nigerian people. They fear the wrath of the people. So instead of the government to solve, the problems that are affecting the people, the government decides to bribe some of them and to break up, to use divide and rule and break up the protests so that the protesters will not be able to achieve their objectives. And that is why President Tinubu is very confident that even though Peter Obi has called him out and Atiku and called him out that he should come out, Peter Obi has called him out, he should come out and talk to the people and address their problems. Tinubu is adamant. This is a very stubborn person, adamant and very proud that he feels that he cannot come out to talk to the Nigerian people and address their problems and their grievances. So this is where it becomes this is why it is very, unfortunate. But of course, there's always a way to go. There's always a way to go, and there's a way to go about.
They don't want protest, which is our right. At the end of everything, Sheikh Tinubu and Wanumaru, they were Shetima. So they went and borrowed all these boys. Understand?
Let us be clear. Shetima or
Sheikh Tinubu, not only him, and the FCT minister. Okay. So they call these guys to give them money. Understand me? So they can come and distort it. That was yesterday own. Yesterday they came with 10 buses. These guys came with 10 buses. So at the end, they packed, they're watching us at the stadium. So what they now did, they want to surprise us. They join us. They were now the one fighting what do they call it, FCT ministers. Now start saying Tinubu that pro banker, Shetima that pro banker. That how can that their money they pay them their money. Understand me? And which is right. In Nigeria, why do we have a leader? We have a leader to be like a father to citizens. Isn't this? If you go outside the country, you will see how things are being done. Understand me? They're supposed to have allowances. They're supposed to have privilege, right, in all these things. But they don't give it to citizens. They are not told them to tout.
I want to get you clear. Now, so you are alleging that some particular persons were bribed. Yes. Are you sure? You have evidence?
No, do you know what happened? I might not have evidence, but I have my people that are around there.
I have evidence.
Okay.
I am among the people that they give 5 transactions. Day before yesterday, they gave me day before yesterday.
Yes.
For this upper resettlement town hall. They gather people, they give them 5,000, and I am among. I'm Keke people, I'm Keke man. I carry many people go there and they give them 5,000, and I am the person that they give 5,000 naira. They lecture us that time, say, don't go to protest because
who gave you 5,000 naira?
I don't know the name of the person because I don't know them. They just come and with this this chairman, Amak chairman, he visited the place and they give people 5,000. Anybody, they will not count. Anybody will reach that, they will give him 5,000, and they will tell you that look, no go there. Don't go there. What they tell us is say there's people that they want to make problem on this protest. That's why. So this 5,000 they give people to come and destroy our peaceful protest. It's the people that they come in and destroy our protest. Since yesterday, since yesterday, they are the people. See, after that, yesterday they start shooting us with tear gas. Today they start shooting us with live ammunition. For what?
So as you are seeing, that's what is happening in Nigeria. So, but what do you think? What do you think should be our approach? Because this is a situation that we have to deal with. They always say, I think it's one of the our ancestors who say that every generation must find its mission, and it either fulfills that mission or it betrays that mission. All right. So every generation must find its mission and fulfill that mission or betray it. Okay, I think he's the one who wrote The Wretched of the Earth, right? In the comment section, let me see in the comment section if someone knows who wrote the Wretched of the Earth, that book. Who wrote that book? He's the one who said that every generation must find its mission and either fulfill that mission or betray it. The generation which dealt with slavery, the two Salovachas and the Adezalines, those people, they had their challenges and they dealt with them. And without much weapons, without much resources, the Africans in Haiti were able to fight against slavery and defeat it and bring about relief on the African continent, because they were still taking slaves from the African continent. So it is until the slaves in Haiti, defeated France, that slavery, stopped. So unlike, what other people have been saying, but it is these guys who led to the stopping actually of slavery. Now, when we come to also when we come also to colonialism, the colonial, the generation of colonialism also had its challenges, and these countries were powerful who were dominating all the continent. But how were they able to do it? So it's going to take also our challenge. Yes, it's Franz Fanon. Thank you so much. Thank you, Freddy Bantu. So it's Franz Fanon. Now, our generation too has this challenge that we are facing. Now, these internal traitors, which Nkrumah, of course, has already acknowledged in his book, that if we want to rescue Africa, if we want to liberate Africa and unify it and rebuild it, these are the people we're going to face as challenge. We're going to face imperialism in itself and how it has, taken over the place, taken over the continent, taken over the media, taken over the education system, taken over the political system. But more so, we are also going to face internal resistance, that we have collaborators internally, internal of the continent. And these are the ones who you see that they are selling Africa's assets, they are selling Africa's resources. Now, how are we going to deal with that? Put your suggestion in the comment section so that we can gather these ideas, so that we can deliberate on these ideas. How are we going to deal with this problem as a people when we are seeing all these sabotages now that are going on? Whenever people rise up, at the internal collaborators who are in control of the government, now they come out and then they sabotage our protests. They sabotage us as a people. Now, how do we organize, against these sabotages that we are seeing, as you have heard the people have said? So put it in the comment section. My name is Kwame Gonza, and I'm glad that you guys are watching Connect Africa. We are really, really glad. This is some of the tasks that, these are the tasks we dedicated ourselves to do. We say that we want to be here a little bit more and deliberate on the future of the continent, because we believe that we are part of that generation that is going to make a contribution to building this continent. So support the channel. Kindly support the channel. Like the video. Share the video with other people and invite other people to the channel. If you have not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel, and also support us. Support us with our PayPal account. Support us with some super chat, so that we can be here more often. We can dedicate our lives, fully to this task of doing the things. And of course, we are doing some other things outside there. We're not just here talking. There's a lot of other things which we are doing, but we can mention those ones later. When we see a lot of support coming in. So we want to dedicate ourselves to this task fully. So be out there and support the channel. Support us in what we are doing. Like I said, if you have a PayPal, we thank those ones who have been supporting us. There's a lot of people who have been supporting the channel with the PayPal. They have been supporting the channel with Super Chat. Continue to support the channel, and let's move forward into the liberation of the African continent. So thank you so much once again. I'll see you next time. We'll come to tomorrow again, once again. I may come again today to bring another update, but We may be here with Mahlet later on in the evening, but again, tomorrow we will come with more updates because tomorrow is supposed to be day 4. The protest in Nigeria is supposed to be about 10 days. Once again, I want to thank you for being part of the channel. Thank you for liking the channel. Thank you for loving the channel. Thank you for supporting Connect Africa, and thank you for supporting Mahlet, and thank you for supporting us all. Thank you so much, and be blessed.